Hello everyone, I am Count Christo and welcome back to the Belligerent Brandenburg campaign. We had a crash at the end of the last one, as I recall, but things are ticking along here. We can, we can start coring some stuff over here in our new acquisitions. Not an Prussian. Ooh, close though. If we put these guys to go and stand over there, then we should be able to begin coring over there. So it seems very doable. We're currently in this this war with Denmark. Mostly we started to try and ruin relations between Denmark and Poland. We'll see if we manage to do that in the long term. We have managed to break their alliance in the short term, which is excellent. National privilege revoked. Cool. We weren't that far back, so it's not that bad that we had a crash. Let's have them come back before we start drilling them again. Or actually, here, we might as well have them drill over the monthly tick. And then we can move them over here. Not to waste a single month of potential professionalism. No, well, we don't want to marry you. We never want to marry you. Okay. Could go for the stack wipe, but I imagine as soon as I started getting close, they'd run back onto their island. If we are going to long-term be able to wage war against Denmark effectively... Ooh, interesting. Okay. Now, this event is great in MEIOU&Taxes because it's a vanilla event. They haven't changed how it works. So you can get greater noble loyalty in exchange for burgher loyalty, which I almost always want. Obviously, we can get the army professionalism, but yeah, I'm quite happy to annoy the burghers in exchange for making the greater nobles more pleased with us, because it's much easier, at least in my experience, to get the burghers to like you than to get the greater nobles to like you. Nuremberg, are you going to wake up? I don't know why you're just standing over there. See if we change up the thing. Maybe we can shake them out of it. No? Doesn't look like it. So we could be supporting loyalists. Could siphon income. Yeah, go on. Thinks their opinion of us rather low, but it's a we're money starved, so going for a bit of cash out of them seems like a worthy goal. If we could just take Lübeck, we'd be in a good spot. We'd get a lot of money if we had Lübeck. Let's deal with popular piety in a second. So Lübeck consists of it's 12% of the whole node. We only control 14%. It's crazy. So popular piety, we can be more fanatic and increase increase reform desire. Well, that seems good. So we want to go Protestant. So. I'm sorry, by the way. I know I said this a few times. I'm sorry we're not going to go Kalanixine. Because, mostly just because I want to be involved in the League Wars. I don't quite understand the League War triggers in MEIOU&Taxes. I have them down to a fine art in the vanilla game. But in MEIOU, they're a bit more complicated. And also they work differently. So when the Protestants win, for example, that's not just it. You have a vote after a league war, which determines which becomes the current official faith. But then you can have another war and another war and another war and another war. And then the more wars you have, the higher chance that you proclaim religious peace, which is the historical outcome. What's the phrase? Et reginum et religio. Hang on, I'm going to look it up. What is the et reginum et religio, something like that. Et reginum et religion. Is that it? Holy Roman Empire. Alright, no. I'm not going to read a whole freaking wiki page right now. Anyway. It's something like that. It means his kingdom, his religion. Or, like, if it's your kingdom... Basically, if it's your kingdom, you get to pick the religion. Was what they officially settled on, with a couple of notable exceptions. Like I think Hungary, not Hungary. Yeah, the archbishoprics had to either submit to the emperor's religion or give up their holdings, because obviously the archbishoprics were all kind of like owned by the Pope. Oh hey, I hadn't noticed the Pope has reclaimed their lands down in Italy. I've never done a game as the Papal State. I have no idea how the mechanics work. in terms of, because this whole area here starts controlled by it's called something like the Italian territories or the Roman territories or something like that. We can check actually if they have cores. We could get the name that way. No, they seem to have lost their cores. But it could be fun to start playing as the papacy, seeing what we can do. Doing our best to enforce Catholicism. Fun thing I did in a Spanish game once, just kind of mucking around. I've done a couple of games of Spain. I was super Protestant for ages, and then, sorry, I was super Catholic for ages, and then when Protestantism started, I fully embraced Protestantism. And then I fought a whole bunch of league wars to enforce Protestantism. And then Reform became enabled, so I switched to Reformed and did a whole bunch of league wars to enforce Reformed. I think I fought in 4 different league wars. Hey, nice. Free army professionalism. I fought in, I think it was 4 different league wars. The first one was Catholic, the second one was Protestant, and then 2 as Reformed, and ended up as the Reformed Emperor of the HRE. It was a great time, actually. Wacky things you can do in this mod. Wacky things indeed. The other campaign that I want to do in MEIOU&Taxes is an Ottoman campaign, and I know what you might be thinking. The Ottomans are stupidly overpowered, and you're not wrong. There are some mechanics in the game which I will go into more if and when I do a campaign as the Ottomans. They're ludicrously overpowered. The war dynamism, which hasn't come up in this game yet, but if you occupy a province which meets one of a large number of conditions, it can just be ceded to you, and you sometimes even get a free core on it, and it costs 0 aggressive expansion, and it's not considered part of your peace deal. You know, it's just an event. It's not part of your war score. So, for example, if you play as the Ottomans, you get it. So one of the trigger conditions, which I think is perfectly balanced and very reasonable, is you can get this war dynamism on provinces that are your cores. So if we went to war with Bohemia and we occupied these provinces, we could take the province off Bohemia. I think that you have to occupy it for about 2 years, and then there's a meantime to happen of 6 months, something like that. And you can seize the province. And that makes sense to me, right? It's a former part of your country. You know, it's a core area. Of course, the local peasants might be swayed to your side. Let's pause this conversation just for a second, because it looks like... Oh, they're just Bohemian peasants. I was hoping they were the Kalinic uprising. That would be brilliant if we could have Bohemia get forced to convert. We might even have a shot at being the emperor, but not for a while. Anyway, so that makes sense, right? If they're your core, sure, that makes sense for it to switch to you. However, one of the other areas that you can get war dynamism is what is called in the wiki like historical conquests. So certain historical conquests you get war dynamism on. And to me, that makes absolutely no sense. Because the fact that it happened historically doesn't mean it should be made just arbitrarily easier to happen in the mod. I really dislike that. And so, for example, the Ottomans get war dynamism, basically, as far as I can tell, on this. It's ridiculous. They get war dynamism on... it's certain provinces they don't get it on. Like, I don't think they get it on Constantinople, but they do get it on all of central Hungary. So I played the Ottomans, declared war on Hungary. I took all of Hungary in one war. I didn't take a single point of aggressive expansion. It's ludicrous. It did cost me a ridiculous number of Diplo points, because when you get the war dynamism event, it costs you about 35 Diplo points, something like that. But it's ludicrous. You can take all this land at once. Like, all right. Be quiet, Italian man. I'm trying to talk. Dong. I just find that ludicrous, because it's not like, it's like Manifest Destiny with the Americans in Victoria 2. Like, there's nothing that means America like actually had some... Oh, this is a tough one. 10 prestige, 10 legitimacy, or a 30% chance. Roll the dice. Come on. Yes. There's nothing that actually means America had some kind of manifest right to take California. That's just propaganda after the fact. So you shouldn't give them cause on California straight out of the gate. It doesn't make any sense. All right, gifted Kalinic scene. No, only Catholic men are welcome in court for now. We're gonna go Protestant. Yeah, so there was no manifest destiny. The Turks weren't just always going to conquer Hungary. You shouldn't, in my opinion anyway, and I defer to the mod developers. I know it's really difficult to make mods and historical simulators and all that kind of thing. And I'm certain I couldn't do it better. Let me make that utterly clear. So we'll deal with that in a second when I finish my diatribe. It just doesn't make any sense to me. The way you make it so that things turn out historically is you set up a good simulator, right? Because if you set up a perfect simulator, and I know you couldn't do this, or at least we couldn't yet, if you set up a perfect simulator of 1356, right, of all the world exactly as it was with perfect simulations, then everything would play out historically, right? Because you'd be simulating all the things that actually did happen, if you believe, anyway, in like a fully deterministic cause and effect. But, you know, I'll save random philosophy for streams, mostly. But anyway, so the way you make Turkey conquer Hungary is you make Turkey a powerful nation in a well-placed area with good reasons to conquer Hungary. Namely, you know, control of trade and income and increased control and, you know, continuing the Muslim expansion into Europe and all that kind of thing. And those things do exist in-game. The Turks will normally go after Hungary because they're a religious enemy on the border. They've got, you know, good territory. It increases their control over the Danube node. Where is it? Yeah, the lower Danube, which they can siphon into their coffers down here in the Aegean and all that kind of thing. But don't do it. Don't just force it by some silly war dynamo or something. That's my opinion anyway. No peace. So I'd much rather it happened naturally than just by forced things. To a lesser extent, this applies to the Iberian wedding as well. Like, the Iberian wedding wasn't inevitable. There isn't just some you know, inherent quality of being on the Iberian Peninsula that there's going to be a political union between these. Hey, 80%, nice. It's just, I'd much rather it happened organically. But I understand, you know, in vanilla and in MEIOU&Taxes, it's difficult for these things to happen organically. Because, you know, you'd have to... And a lot of the time they wouldn't, because some of them were based on chance. Anyway. I hope I didn't rant too long. So, it looks like... Yep, Muscovy won. 2 provinces got ceded. Were they any good? The high pop. There's some urban pop here. They increased the autonomy. Ooh, Muscovy likes us. We could totally ally Muscovy. So the problem, you know, there are a couple of limits, problems with this. Firstly, they're at the alliance limit. Secondly, it's very remote. Only Russian princes will ally non-Russians who are close to them. And we're in the HRE. I think a Russian alliance, a Russian-Prussian alliance seems like it could be good. They lost only the 2 provinces, but there should be some devastation. Yeah, look at that. Wow. Yeah, so if you're not familiar, we haven't really looked at this campaign yet. Province trauma. When you get sieged down, and it seems to just keep ticking up the longer a province is occupied, you get increasing amounts of province trauma, which the main impact... Ignore, by the way, local rural goods produce modifier plus 1%. They seem to put that on all the little temporary modifiers they have to put on provinces. Like you can see it's there on this, like Greater Nobles built building grants it. What's another good example? I think plagues do it as well. AI government built building. Ignore that. That's not the main modifier. That's not the important thing. I think that's just a placeholder so that there is a... I don't know. I'm not a coder. But it's something to do with the fact that in order for there to be a modifier on a province, it has to have some kind of actual active modifier. But the main impact that has is to increase the likelihood of plagues and all that kind of stuff. Not plagues, sorry, famines is what I mean to say. So the fact there's been a war going on over here is bad for Lithuania, even if the peace deal wasn't disastrous. They just lost 2 provinces. So yeah, for now, I'm a cheerleader for Moscow. Muscovy, even. Moskva. I want them to make progress so that we can... I'm just going to keep filling this out before we get the next military tech group. Military idea, sorry. Military tech is what I was going for. Because they're going to weaken our not yet actual rival, but our, you know, we're rubbing shoulders with Poland, that's for sure. No, Denmark, you can't have peace. It's a big... I think it might be the debate in historical simulators. You know, do you try and strong-arm historical events into happening, or do you go more with a sandbox situation? And I'm quite strongly, personally, in the sandbox camp. The other reason that I think, yeah, we need to end this war. The burghers are going to get less and less and less loyal the longer this goes on, because we're still taking money from them. Although I do like taking money from them. You see, they're making plenty of money. We're only taking like 80% of their money per their income every year. Oh, good lord. Good. Core. Memeland. Excellent. Yeah, so the other reason... I hope I'm not. I don't know. Maybe this is boring. There's not a huge amount going on, but I think it's interesting anyway. So, the other reason I'm in favour of going for a sandbox rather than trying to strong-arm stuff with events, and don't get me wrong, I'm not against historical events. I think they can be very fun when well used, when not too extreme, like the Ottomans just get all of Hungary, which is ludicrous. But the other problem with them is it means you need to know the specifics of how events work in order to play the game to the optimal degree. Right? You don't just need to understand mechanics. So, for example, the Burgundian inheritance is a very major event that takes place in EU4, and it can, in vanilla EU4, I don't know at all how it works in MEIOU&Taxes, but it's a very significant event, and it determines to a great extent the balance of power in Europe. If you're playing as Austria, and you can get the Burgundian inheritance to fight in your favour, you inherit all of Burgundy, and if they still have all their vassals, you can inherit all their vassals. So you basically get this whole area here, and you also get some Luxembourg land. Where is Luxembourg? It's been annexed by France, hasn't it? Yeah, here. This area starts off Luxembourg, I think. Anyway, it's very, very important, and the way you get the Burgundian inheritance is not similar to personal union mechanics and the general ways you can inherit countries when their rulers die and things like that. It's scripted. And so in order to be, to play optimally in Europe, you need to understand the scripting of how the event works. Now, to me, firstly, I really enjoy sometimes knowing how the scripting works, and gearing a campaign around making sure I try and get myself the Burgundian inheritance. But ideally, that kind of thing wouldn't happen. You wouldn't have to know how the scripting worked in order to be good at the game. You'd want to just know how all the basic mechanics worked, and then have things like the Burgundian inheritance be a possibility all the time, all over the place. And then if you understood the mechanics, you could try and engineer, a Brandenburgian inheritance and all that kind of thing, like you can with the in-game personal union mechanics. But yeah, if you want to force the historical thing to happen, then it's tricky. Our Grand Duchess is now infertile. Good thing we have an heir. She's getting on a bit. She's 44. She's becoming fertile. I wonder if it's more likely for female rulers. I bet it's not, but I wonder if it's more likely for female rulers to get the infertile trait when they get older. Because obviously female fertility drops off sooner than male fertility. Well, come on. Why are we getting less prestige and less legitimacy from being infertile? We already have beautiful, strong young Evelyn here who's got... Oh, nice. Who's got fantastic traits. The succession is secure. Don't worry about it. It's probably this darn Jagiellon's fault. I didn't realise they had the Jagiellon dynasty now. Cool. Let's blame him. Can't we blame him? Do a Henry VIII. Constantly blame our wives, or in this case husbands, as the ones that are infertile, rather than saying it's us. That's what we should do. Alright, so we've got all the war score we're going to get. No? 4 more. Okay, 8 more months, and then we'll look into piecing out of this war. Oh, Bohemia's below 100. Don't want that. Let's keep working on their opinion. I really don't want them to stop marrying us, and well, I mean, they're not in a good spot right now. Our army has grown substantially. Remember, this is partly estate troops, though. I think 3,000 of these men are estate troops. I don't know if there's an easy way to tell. Oh, I can just look at them, can't I? Excuse me. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry, let me count it this way because this scroll bar annoys me. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of these men are our own. That's quite a lot. Gifted Orthodox Christian. No, only Catholic. Oh, right, yeah, but it's tough because I do want to get rid of the septism over here. Well, no, we're down to 0 autonomy. Is it 0 unrest? That's fine. We'll go policy of intolerance. Good. Now, something I don't really know is how you get rid of minorities, because you can convert provinces, right? If the province was 60% Orthodox, I could send a... Ooh, France is in control. We could send a missionary, right? And then when he finished his missionary progress, the province would move 20% more towards being our religion. But But in terms of minorities, I think... Ooh, Florence has the Medici system. I think the only way we can really do it is by expelling... by persecuting other religions, which is, here, forcing heretics to convert. Which is, it's a big deal. It costs military points. It can start huge religious conflicts within your country. It gives any neighbouring or nearby, I think, countries of the faith that you're persecuting CBs, which in this case means Muscovy, for trying to expel Orthodox Christians. Although I have heard it called overpowered as well. So maybe I've just been using it wrong, because whenever I try and use it, it all falls apart. Right. Is it time? Ooh, it's almost time to get another claim on Saxony. Nice, we didn't get caught, which means I will have my claim on Meissen, please. Now it's time to consider piecing out, I think. One more month, then we'll piece out. Now, the reason I began talking about the, you know, my little diatribe about historical events versus sandbox and all that stuff was I was talking about the Turkish Empire. And I do want to play a game as the Turkish Empire because I want to try blobbing. Because blobbing is tough in this game, especially if you leave in all the anti-blobbing events, which fire on a per province basis. Usually when I'm playing off camera, I just get rid of them because they annoy me. So we can humiliate. We can't humiliate and get cash. I think we just go for the humiliate. Probably. I think we should go and just kick them out. Might catch them? No. We'll go and place this... well, it's going to be difficult to get there. Yeah, let's just go for the humiliate. I think I'm happy with the humiliation here. We've driven up their war exhaustion. We've... oh, they got negative on stability. Ha! We've generally... we've caused them to have all their estate troops to be raised for a long time. We've probably caused quite a bit of province trauma here. Only mild. I think we go for the humiliate. Excuse me? They're not willing to do the humiliate now? They were a second ago. Why not? Why aren't you willing to go for the humiliate? That's weird. That's very confusing. Why? What's changed? Oh, now they are again. Well, let's not question it. Get humiliated, Denmark. It would be a bit of a humiliation, wouldn't it? Considering the tiny little country that we started out with merely 60 years ago, taking on all of Scandinavia. Get wrecked, Denmark. Awesome. So there's our power projection back. And just to rub it, salt in the wounds. Let's insult them. I'll take the court. Can't insult until next month. Alright, we'll do it next month. You guys, keep drilling. Never stop drilling. We're nearly there. Getting up to 100%. Army professionalism. Getting mad discipline. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Alright, here. Salt in the wounds. Get insulted, son. Doesn't give us any power projection, because we have a truce. You only get power projection when you insult someone you don't have a truce with. Hey, Saxony. You smell. There we go. Power projection. Beautiful. Okay, well, in the next episode, we shall consider a war in the south, because, of course, that war, although, you know, very successful, in my mind. We got power projection. We demonstrated to the Danes that we ain't afraid of no Scandinavians. We didn't really gain much land, which means we have very little aggressive expansion in this area now, having let it tick down. Well, we're still at 17 there. So I think it's time for a war with Saxony. Seizing some more of this this good High Saxon land down here. We may wish to add High Saxon as a accepted culture. Because if we're not going to be culturally converting it, which it looks like we're not, right? Yeah, there's no cultural conversion going on, which confuses me. I mean, I know that, like, to some extent, German cultures could be considered one group. But the game definitely doesn't consider them one group, right? It divides them between Low and High Saxon. So... sorry, Low and High Germanic, not Low and High Saxon. So I don't know why there's no cultural conversion going on in this province. Is it because it's not full chord? No, because we have cultural conversion going on up here. Not in the Wendish area. The Wendish area at least makes sense that it's not doing conversion because it's in our group. But the Neumark... no, Neumark does have a full core. Maybe it's the full core. Okay, that we can experiment with. Okay, I'm very happy. If that's why, I'm extremely pleased. Because we can obviously full core stuff down here, no problem. And then if we can start getting some cultural conversion going on, that'd be ideal. Alright, anyhow, in the next episode, War with Saxony and further discussions of my... next campaign, which I plan to do probably concurrently with this one, but playing down in the Turkish Empire. Of course, because because how much of this campaign I've recorded in a row, because it's very good fun. The Turkish campaign will probably have started coming out like 2 weeks ago. So you may already be intimately familiar with the Turkish campaign by the time you watch this video. Anyhow, thank you very much for watching. I do hope to see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.